Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, call before you dig. You did test them, right? IT adventures that really butters your muffins. Technologically impaired. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Call before you dig. I'm working for a strange consulting firm that still isn't sure what to do with me, but the pay's good. After the previous gig, I'm told to get myself to a suburban office park somewhere in Missouri and join an existing engagement with Amalgamated Pipelines, AP. It's late spring, so business travel becomes an excuse to ride my motorcycle. A day and a half later, I'm at my second home, a mid-grade hotel chain with the amenities I want: room service, a small hotel bar with a familiar point-of-sale system. I check in, clean up and park myself at the bar, which is sparsely occupied. I drop my laptop at the bar and start reading through the documents from the client as well as previous emails. Looks like Amalgamated has decided to assess and fix their cybersecurity in a few weeks, like cleaning up from a week-long house party 15 minutes before mom and dad come home. I've been tasked with writing an entire policy kit this week. There's an external team doing some kind of vulnerability scan, but I'm not involved. My firm is also doing some consulting around restructuring financial stuff, but I skip over those threads. I find the docs I am interested in: network and infrastructure. Their regular IT network looks like late 90s state-of-the-art MPLS ones between offices. The industrial control systems, ICS, networks are much less detailed. The top-level diagram of the whole network looks like marketing material. It's not a hastily pushed-together Visio doc, but without specifics. There's some spreadsheet as an inventory devices and locations, and 172.16.x.x addresses. Okay. I do notice that they've handed over nothing for the usual policies and procedures. I'll just buy one of those off-the-shelf policy kits and get AP to let me know what they don't, can't, or won't do. It's imperfect, but that's what you get when you only have a week. A few more people find their way to the hotel bar, and we're all living the same life. Laptops and drinks. I notice one laptop across the bar from me with a variety of hacker conference stickers. The owner is a 30-something woman picking at a plate of fries and pipetting drops of water into a glass of scotch while staring at her screen. I go back to my room and slap together some slides describing my part of this project for tomorrow's kickoff and go to bed. The next morning, I boil water with the in-room coffee maker to make oatmeal and make it to Amalgamated's offices. I get to meet the teams. My firm has a handful of management consultants, but I'm the only IT or security consultant. There's another firm doing a pentest. After the initial kickoff meeting, I'll get to try to coordinate with the handful of people I need to talk to. I'd expect to overlap with the pentest team to save time. Right as the meeting starts, I see the scotch-drinking woman from the bar and her bestickered laptop. There are intros and a lot of backstory about Amalgamated. I really don't care, but I want to look attentive and easy to work with. After the meeting, I meet Ralph, Amalgamated's director of IT. He wants to make sure I get settled in. I follow him through a maze of mouse-colored cubicles. I think I'm in a sales or customer service phone bank, as the people around me are busy taking short phone calls. Ralph has a neutral American accent, which makes me guess he's either from Central Ohio or he's suppressing a thicker accent. This distracts me. I want to force him to say to be or needs done and solve this mystery. After some chit-chat in his office, we agree on the plan. I'm going to give him parts of the generic policy, and he'll assign Amalgamated staff to make comments. Once we collect all their inputs, I'll edit the policies and they can sign off on them. The next week will be spent poking people, fighting over wording and writing. Policy writing ain't easy, but it's necessary. I'll be chasing stakeholders like Tom chased Jerry. The first day, it's sending emails and editing the policy template. I'm mostly changing names, titles, and commenting out things Amalgamated doesn't handle, like credit cards or healthcare data. This isn't complicated work, so I get to take in my surroundings. Most of the people at Amalgamated have worked here for years. Their cubes are decorated with plaques showing how long they've been there. During coffee breaks, I wander around to see many 5- and 10-year plaques of different colors. I'll have to ask Ralph when I talk to him next. Most of the office empties out at 4:55, but one woman in a cube near me sticks around. I try listening into her calls. Maybe she's renting real estate on the side. Her calls start out with narrowing down a particular property, and then telling them either you're okay, or we'll be out there within 48 hours. Don't do any work in the area until we're there. Fine. I've done my day's work, so I leave Amalgamated. The parking lot's empty, so I deliberately ride over the speed bumps fast enough to catch air. Simple pleasures like a dinner at Waffle House and a book. I ride back to the hotel and park myself in the bar to have a drink and catch up on other work. After a beer or two and some timesheets, I notice scotch and water at the bar. I wave to her and manage a brief conversation. Me, hey, I saw you at the kickoff looking at your stickers, you're on the Pentaist. S&W, I'm leading it. The rest of my team's offshore. Me, great. I'm writing policies this week. Did you get any details on their ICS systems? All I saw was marketing material. S&W, air-gapped. Me, I'd like to believe that, but I'd like to believe a lot of things that aren't true. S&W, with a bored face, so neither of us know anything. I've got stuff to do. I leave her be, finish my drink and go up to my room. Oddly enough, I've already received some comments on my drafts. Most of them are the usual changes for people's titles, nitpicky comments on wording. And an odd one. In the network security policy, there was a section that read like it was from the early 90s. Dial-up systems. Any system with a dial-up connection shall use a unique password before being connected to the telephone network. I figured this wasn't relevant, so I commented with a terse, I'm pretty sure you're not using dial-up anymore, so I'd suggest removing this or limiting it to fax/multifunction printers. This seems to be a controversial topic. This has sparked an entire back and forth between a few Amalgamated staff, which comes to a conclusion that the Industrial Control Systems team can't meet this for all their dial-up systems, and that it's overly burdensome to fix. This keeps me up at night. What sort of stuff do they have on dial-up? The next morning, I get my coffee and park myself in my cubicle. Before the calls start, I poke my head over the cubicle wall and introduce myself to my office neighbor. Me, hi there. I'm just a contractor working with you all. What are you all doing? My neighbor looks at me and cocks her head to the side, like I asked a really dumb question. Neighbor, we're the call before you dig hotline. Me, huh? Neighbor, we've got maps of all our buried assets. When someone wants to dig, they call us and we let them know if we need to mark the property. She points at a map of what looks like the western halves of Missouri. Neighbor, I'm responsible for the Morla Corridor. Candy, next cube over, is responsible for Texas and New Mexico. I look at the map on her cubicle and see lines crossing Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana. There are details as well. I see components of the pipelines and other details in small print. I hear a voice booming behind me. It comes from a large, bearded man who consciously flexes his muscles. I know he has an axe. I just hope it isn't in his office. I'll call him Tormund. Tormund, you law techie? Me, I am. What do you need? Tormund, I need you to be more reasonable with your policies. Me, I'd like to think I'm reasonable. How can I be more so? Tormund, unique passwords are too hard to manage. Our systems aren't connected to the internet, so it doesn't matter. I also want the air gap testing requirement out of the policy. Me, is this for your ICS network? Tormund, yes. I'm a manager in the Industrial Controls Department. Me, I saw your comments. Tormund, what's that supposed to mean? I'm imagining what's going on in his head. It's not pretty. I put my hands up. Me, you say your systems are air-gapped, but won't test to make sure. Tormund's nostrils flare. Tormund, if you can't read the diagram we sent you, we should replace you with someone who can. Me, look, I'll figure out who can sign off on this. I'll let you know. Tormund grunts and walks off. This is going to be fun. Thankfully, the rest of the day is filled with less threatening meetings, comments on documents, and listening into the call before you dig calls. One caller seems to be a bit demanding. This reminds me of my help desk days. I can't hear the caller, but I can hear Candy's voice. Candy, sir, I understand that it's your land. We bought the rights to have a pipeline there. Candy, sir, you cannot dig in that area. It's not safe. Candy, you're right. We can't stop you from digging there. Candy, let me assure you, if you dig through our 12-inch pipeline, damage to your auger is the least of your worries. We all have a laugh at this. Candy seems to have calmed down her angry Texan. Everybody filters out by 5, but I'm still waiting on some edits before I leave. I take the opportunity to walk through the cube maze. I stop at Candy's cube and look at her map to get an idea how these pipelines work. Pipelines are layered networks. At the bottom of their OSI model, there are long tubes filled with petroleum products. On top of them are thin electrical networks to power pumps, sensors and valves, and their controllers. On top of that, there's a conventional network controlling all this. That network runs back to control buildings. All this makes sense to me. There are faint notes on the map as well. I note many of the controllers have 4 or 10-digit numbers faintly written next to them. I look around, then take a few pictures with my phone. My phone buzzes. It's a demanding email from the Director of Industrial Controls, who I assume is Tormund's boss. Since their systems are air-gapped, they feel that it's absolutely ridiculous that they should have to meet unreasonable standards, let alone let those standards be written down in a policy document. More than a few people at my firm are CC'd. I've had enough for the day. I go back to the hotel, change and try to find decent barbecue. Sadly, all I can find is a bandanas, which will have to suffice. As I see it, I'm either going to have to go to my boss and get some cover or capitulate to the ICS wildlings. I plead with the waitress to bring me a plain seltzer, even trying to explain that the little switch on the side of the dispenser can be used to make this. She brings me a Sprite, and I am sad. I'm mashing at my phone, getting sweet barbecue sauce on the screen when the picture of the map from Candy's cubicle comes up. Out of idleness, I swipe around the map of Texas. I don't know why I write down the number written on the map. I really don't know why I decide to call it. It answers after 3 rings. EOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO attempting a handshake sounds like. I use a few napkins and the cup of Sprite to wash my hands. I drop more than sufficient money on the table and run out of the restaurant. I pull on my helmet, jacket and gloves and make good time back to the hotel. I run to my room before taking off my helmet. 15 minutes and $20 later in the hotel's business center, I have printed off Candy's map. I sit at the bar, drinking cold seltzer and calling up modems, marking the results on the printout. A few turn out to be actual humans in a port facility or control room. Some guessing later, and I figure out the area codes and exchanges for most of the other numbers on the map. I'm practically spinning on my barstool. I see Scotch and Water walk into the bar. I walk over to her disappointment. Me, how would you like some high findings on your Penteist report? Her annoyance turns into amusement as I walk her through what I found out, including dialing one of the modems. She opens her laptop and starts chatting with her team to work out a test plan, then closes her laptop. S&W, why do you care? Me, I want to write good policy, and I'm going to guess that your team will have a reportable finding that you can tell the client tomorrow. I'm hoping this might make them listen to me. She looks dubious, but buys me sufficient mid-grade booze to let me sleep. The next morning, I send a meeting request to Tormund and his boss to discuss a way forward. That meeting gets accepted, then cancelled due to a more pressing security matter. I rewrite the policy requiring unique passwords, validation of air gaps, and failed login detection. I put a comment in the document about how these are reasonable controls in an increasingly dangerous world. Nobody seems to quibble about this. Call before you dig, indeed. You did test them, right? A few years ago, I was working as an engineer for a medium-sized company based in an industrial zone miles from anywhere. I wasn't officially tech support. I was working as an engineer, but I would be responsible for providing ad hoc support for any customers within my area of expertise. One afternoon, we received an urgent support request from customer X, complaining that of 12 devices we had sold and installed 4 years previously, all but one had failed. They needed to be fixed yesterday, as their customers were unable to use them. Some background on these devices. They were custom developed for a previous customer, and had been intended for temporary installation in southern European country for a few months one summer before being decommissioned. When decommissioned, customer X from northern European country had purchased them and permanently installed them in an exposed location, and expected us to maintain them. These devices predated my employment at the company, and indeed the employment of anyone in my team. All we had was a BOM. Customer X was unwilling to do any diagnosis themselves. So it was that I ended up purchasing 12 full sets of hardware for same-day delivery at extortionate cost. The following day, I was on the early, expensive train to major European capital where the devices were installed. By 10 a.m. I was on site, but the relevant manager at the client was in a meeting. However, I'd worked on their site before, and their security had me on file, so they buzzed me through, and I wandered along to the install site alone. While I waited for the manager to get out of her meeting and close the area, I thought I'd test the devices. First one I tried worked fine. I assumed that was the one that worked. Then I tried the next. That one worked. And the next. Of the 12, only one wasn't working properly, and that was just because something had been unplugged. By the time the manager had arrived, I'd fixed it. When I explained what had happened, the manager wasn't very happy. When customer X thought the devices were dead, she got heat for it and was told to get them fixed. When it turned out they hadn't been dead, but they'd been hit for several thousand nicker just because she couldn't be stuffed to walk 5 minutes from her office to check, she'd be properly up a gum tree with no canoe. In the end, I was persuaded to swap some hardware so she could sign off that some actual technical work had been done. Yes, I could have shopped her to upper management, but customer X was always pulling these on us. Pretty much paid my wages each month in call-out fees, and to be honest, I quite liked the routine of call-out dead easy fix paid to spend rest of day in major European capital with full expenses, and a nice dinner out on the house, plus overtime for the early train out. IT adventures that really butters your muffins. Takes call, how can I help you? Customer, I can't get my screens to work, they are all black. I took my laptop home and the battery died over the weekend. Me, okay, no problem. Are you currently working from home or you are in the office? Customer, I'm in the office today, nothing works, everything is sh*t, goes on tangent. Me, I'll assist you with all your issues. Are you currently connected to a docking station? Checks VPN is good. Runs pupdate, scano, checks software updates, needs 1 million of them. Informs customer, it does look like there are quite a few updates to install, this will take some time. Is there anything else you can do in the meantime while I work on this in the background? Customer, begrudgingly sighs, I suppose I can, I'm working off my iPad, I really need you to get this fixed ASAP. Me, no problem, I'll work on these issues as fast as possible. Informs the customer on the steps I'm taking, and how long they will take. About 30 minutes goes by, updates are still installing, multiple PC restarts have taken place, and the customer is getting extremely antsy. Customer, any progress? I needed you to fix this like yesterday. Me, I'm still working on the issues, we will have to perform a few more restarts for the updates to install properly. Once those are complete, we will also have to disassemble the docking station and power cycle it since the other monitors are not displaying properly. Customer, oh my god, you are slow, just fix this already. Me. About 50 minutes into the call, technically making progress, so it's not an escalation. Okay, I need you to restart your machine, connect it to the docking station, then proceed with plugging the power cord back into the docking station. All steps are performed. Customer, what the hell, my screens are all still black, you didn't fix it. Oh wait, I see the taskbar on all the screens, but they are all still black. Me, explains that our version of Bomber blacks out the screen to protect the customer's privacy. Customer, oh okay, that's still dumb though. Also, why did my font change? What did you do with those updates? The text looks different, I don't like it. Me, verified everything else is running as it should, it is. It could have been due to the software updates, I can take a look into the font settings and change them for you. Customer, no it's fine, you took long enough. Hangs up. Me sighing in the background. No problem, glad I fixed all of your problems, but now you want to get shitty over how the text looks on your screen. Sounds like some afternoon drinking is in store. Technologically impaired. This was on the late 90s. The company was working on ISO 9000 certification. A lot of documents are being generated for the certification. The head of the quality department was a government bureaucrat in his old job. He is a computer problem magnet. He says he is going to die virgin in computing, meaning he is never going to learn to use a computer. And he's proud of it. Anyway, he starts complaining about his computer being very slow. Probably Windows 95. He got his computer checked, fragmented, etc. Besides, he complains not using official channels. He keeps complaining. A memory upgrade was approved/ordered for his computer by management. Memory was very expensive those days. At that point, his computer had more memory than any other non-server computer at the company, even engineering workstations. Solaris. The problem goes away like for 6 months. My friend is assigned to tackle with the problem. Remember, we're certificating for ISO 9000 and this problem is now delaying the certification. It's always good to have an IT department to blame. All the tests done on the computer reveal it's not slow. The user explains his work process. He reveals that the computer feels the slowest when printing his Word file. My friend gets suspicious and asks the user to show him his Word file. Turns out that he didn't know you can have multiple Word files on your drive. He had only one file, about 8,000 pages long. Anytime he needed to write a new procedure, he would put some returns to force a page change and start a new one. When printing, he would print from page 7,983 to 7,993. Support joked about this person having a curse on him. Over the years, he had several hard disks replaced, more than anyone of the company. He cannot print. Turns out he was printing to the wrong printer on a different floor. Like 30 copies wasted. Because if it does not work the first time, you have keep trying. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.